in recruiting got their start. This is My First Job, hosted by Mike Wood, only on the Purple Acorn Network.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of My First Job. My name is Mike Wood, and I'm got very excited about the person that we have on the show today, Allie Wehlink. She's from Splunk. Allie, hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me on today.
So, Allie, just so people know, what do you currently do at Splunk?
Yeah, I'm an applied industrial organizational psychologist, and I lead our selection and assessment strategy.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. So you're looking at candidates, you're looking at their backgrounds and seeing where they fit. But the first thing I want to talk about is your first job. So lay it on me. What crazy first job did you have?
My very first job was actually working at a Lido Pizza at the takeout counter. When I was in middle school and then really high school, I played really competitive volleyball up until my senior year, when I knew I was not going to go to the Olympics and make money off of volleyball. I decided I wasn't going to play in college. And so I had some free time. I wasn't playing volleyball anymore for my club team. And so I convinced my parents to let me have an after school job. And the first job was at Lido Pizza. It was the first time getting into the restaurant industry.
So was this a pizza place that you knew people at, or did you just kind of walk up and ask if they were hiring? Like, how did you get involved there?
It's a local place. My family had pizza from there every week, so I knew of it. I did not know a soul working there at the time. Made some good friends, though. But yeah, I just walked up, handed my paper resume. Remember doing that, I was hired.
Do you remember what you were paid for your first job?
Oh gosh, definitely minimum wage. It was probably somewhere in the $5 or $6 an
Yep.
hour range.
That's crazy. But so what did you learn in that first job, like, as a teenager about the working world?
I remember being very fascinated with looking at the systems of the way the business was run. And so it's a chain restaurant. And so there are systems and processes that are pushed down from corporate, and things are done in a very specific way. And I remember watching and being very interested in learning why things were done that way and learning about the efficiency. And something clicked there that I was like, okay, I am interested in learning not just about the job, but learning kind of more at a macro level how the business is run.
Yeah, you're looking at the full puzzle pieces and how they make the picture you want to see, and so that's great. So you took that knowledge, and I'm assuming you probably went to college.
I did. I went to Clemson University in South
Okay.
Carolina.
Do you remember what you studied there? Hopefully.
I do. I studied psychology. My parents' guidance was in undergrad, choose the most interesting topic you can. Doesn't matter if that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life, just choose the most interesting topic and then figure out what you want to do in graduate school. So I was a psychology undergraduate major. And my senior year, I actually had too many credits. I could have graduated early, but I needed to take extra classes to stay full time, to stay on my parents' insurance. And because we had a really good IO psychology program at Clemson, it was pretty unique. I was able to take industrial psychology and organizational psychology separately. Most of the time as an undergraduate, that would be combined. I sound super nerdy right now, but taking those two classes separately and getting to really deep dive into the industrial side and the organizational side really drove a passion for me that this is what I wanted to do. So it was the one silver lining to graduating into a terrible economy and deciding that I was just going to go straight into graduate school.
Yeah, so I'm in my 40s, and I graduated in '05, and I actually went to grad school as a way to keep health insurance at the time. So I couldn't. Economy was horrible. Couldn't get a job. Oh, might as well go to grad school. So I don't. Did you end up going to grad school as well?
I did. I went to grad school straight out of undergrad.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of us in that bucket where until they changed the laws and stuff. So so you definitely found that passion for work and organizational thinking early on. Where did you kind of start off after college?
So I went to graduate school at University of Baltimore, and the tagline there is education that works. So most students work full-time and then take full-time coursework as well. So my courses were from 5 o'clock at night to about 11 o'clock at night. So I had the opportunity to work full-time or part-time if I wanted to. So I had an internship while I was in graduate school. The first internship I had was at a hospital, local hospital in Baltimore, and I was a compensation intern, and I had the opportunity to implement the hospital's first competency-based performance management system. And I just learned so much from that project around, of course, performance management systems, but also change management, stakeholder management, working in HR really for the first time. It was really an invaluable year.
That's fantastic. And so I know that internships sometimes lead to good things. They sometimes don't lead to good things. But this sounds like a really good one that lets you. I mean, if I was hiring you for that first job, you already have a great resume just from talking to you. So where did you go next?
So next, I went to a small defense contractor where I had the opportunity to work as an HR specialist, HR generalist, HR everything. There were two of us in HR, and it was a really exciting time for the company. I believe I was employee maybe 60, 65 when we started. We grew to about 300 while I was there in the 18 months to 2 years that I was there. And we grew that big without we didn't have an ATS. We didn't have an HRIS system. We did everything very old school, and I served as the only recruiter, the benefits specialist, the employee relations person. So really baptism by fire, got to learn everything about HR there.
But that's perfect because so I would advise people starting out in their career if they can go out to a smaller company to do that because you do get the exposure to kind of stretch out and wear many hats and find out which hat fits the best. So you're at Splunk now. What do you do at can you tell me about a day in the life of Allie at Splunk?
Yeah, absolutely. So my team helps to increase our recruiter and interviewer capabilities to make fair, defensible, high quality decisions efficiently through predictive online assessments, valid structured interviews, and unbiased evaluation criteria. So we manage our online assessments, working with a number of different vendors for our technical assessments. So that will be work around validation, adverse impact analyses. We also do some kind of bespoke consulting work around structured interviewing, some content development, creating evaluation criteria. And then with all of that, there's a lot of change management and stakeholder management involved in that as we are designing and implementing new selection systems.
Yeah, and you've been speaking a lot. I mean, I met you at RecFest this year, and are you still continuing to do some speaking? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am. I've had a couple opportunities since RecFest to meet either in person or virtually, do a couple of webinars talking a lot about candidate use of AI in the hiring process right now. That's a really hot topic that people are starting to think about as candidates are getting more creative with their use of AI.
So I've been writing about this a little bit, and what I'm seeing with AI is the promise is great for hiring managers in terms of getting through the massive amount of applications that you have. Like let's say you post something on Splunk now, and I find it on LinkedIn, I'll immediately see that 1,000 people already applied for it. Now, as a hiring manager, that's got to be crazy. Now, on the other side, candidates to stand out can use AI to kind of tailor themselves to that job description. How do you find that nice balance in between so that you're not still stuck with 1,000 people that you don't really know what their background is?
Yeah, it goes both ways. Candidates want to use it, and companies want to use it as well. And I think both need to use it transparently and both need to use it ethically. Organizations should be transparent with candidates about how we are using AI in the process. And we also need to be transparent with our candidates about how we expect them to use AI or not use AI in our hiring processes. So, we'll tell candidates they can absolutely use it on their resumes to check for spell check and clarity of writing and and that sort of thing. But if they're in a coding test, they can't copy and paste code and represent that as their own true capabilities.
Yeah, I think that's stepping over a line. So like if you are, let's say you're talking to like the next generation that's kind of coming out of college, do you have like any advice for them for what they should be doing in terms of finding their career and what they love to do?
I would absolutely say skills are transferable. So that was a big thing for me. After I left that small defense contracting company, I went to Deloitte Consulting, and I consulted in the intelligence community for about 5 years. And then I had the opportunity to interview with an assessment vendor. And I had, at that point in time, I had designed competency-based performance management systems and professional development systems, but I had not worked in selection and assessment yet. But when we were in the interview process, we were talking about, have you run job analyses? Yes, of course. Stakeholder management? Yes, of course. Change management? Yes, of course. These are all really transferable skills. So although I had not done the specific work in selection and assessment, I had the skills that could transfer to a new environment, and the hiring manager saw that. And the other parts of the job could be trained upon. So focusing on skills that you can develop, even if maybe the job isn't exactly what you think is what you want to do forever, finding opportunities to develop skills and looking at the job from that side and keeping an open mind, I think is really important. And then highlighting those skills, what you've learned and what you've developed in throughout your career and on that last job, putting that on your resume, highlighting those, I think is really critical.
I love this because I feel like you're speaking to me because I've been in the HR tech space for a little over a decade, and I fell into analyst relations. I've been doing analyst relations for, exclusively for the past like 3 years, but I have a ton of other skills too. And so like in my next role or whatever, I'm looking around and I think there's going to be a lot of people in their 40s like me that kind of feel like all of a sudden they're pigeonholed. And, people will see my resume and say, oh, this guy only does analyst relations, but they don't realize that I do a lot with like talking to product teams. I do a lot with communication. I have a PR background, that type of thing. So I love to hear that because it makes me feel a little bit better about my job search and whatnot. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if all you have on your resume is the job title and a generic job description or responsibilities that you've managed, you're missing out on highlighting so much about you and your personal story. And that's what you need to bring to light.
Yeah, and I think that's hard for people to do. I mean, I was taught not to brag all the time, so it's really hard when you get on like a resume and stuff, and you're trying to talk about your accomplishments or whatnot. I'm like chomping at the bit for a tool out there that will help me highlight skills that I can't put down in paper. That will look at my resume and be like, I bet you're pretty good at this too. I haven't really seen that out there, but I'm wishing that exists at some point. So are you going to be at any upcoming events or anything like that?
I don't have anything planned yet for 2025. Actually, that's not true. In 2025, I am speaking at PsyOp. So we have our annual conference, Society of Industrial Organizational Psychology. We have our annual conference in Denver this year in April. So I am speaking there. And I have a couple other proposals out, but nothing yet confirmed.
And so if people want to find you, they can find you on LinkedIn, correct?
Absolutely. Yep, LinkedIn.
And so if there's any kind of piece of advice that you want to leave listeners with, now's the time to say, like, I mean, you've already given me a ton of great advice, but if there's anything else, I'd love for you to share.
Again, skills are transferable. Focus on the skills that you can learn and that you can find a way to highlight for your next opportunity. Some major skills that are critical for every single role: managing ambiguity, critical thinking, and decision making. Those are things that you are going to need to be really proficient at, regardless of the job, regardless of the industry. So flexing on those skills and building the muscle around those areas, I think is really important.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I think we'll definitely have you back in the future to talk any organizational psychology stuff. It's great that now have you labeled as that expert in my mind. So thank you very much, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.